We're gonna hit run in 2 seconds, close and go live. And we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Welcome to another stream here at the Book of Killian. We're sitting down with our man out in Boston. Run Boston Bear. Boston JT. Boston JT. What's happening, man? How are you?
Man, we're gonna be in Boston tomorrow. I live in East Texas. I chose the Run Boston Bear because I love running the Boston Marathon. My first year there was in 2013, the bombing year, and I decided when all that went down that I was going to go back every year I possibly could. And so far, I've kept it going. So on Monday, just 3 days from now, I'll run my 11th in a row, and my
Dude,
wife,
that's
she
amazing.
finally qualified. It took her like 10 years to qualify, trying to get that number. And she ran a 3:25 in Houston last year. So it's going to be her first, my 11th, and we're running it as a family. It's going to be epic.
So, I mean, we've been talking for a minute, and you gave me a bunch of stuff to unpack. Number
Yeah.
one, I love my 11s, and here you are telling me that you're about to do your 11th.
Well, if you're a numbers guy, my fastest time on any marathon ever was my seventh Boston 2019. So I don't know about 7 and 11, how that goes together.
Hey,
But hopefully this 11 is going to be the fastest I've ever done.
wow,
Because
bro.
in 2019, when I did, it was a 2:51:13. That's a 6:32 pace for 26.2 miles. This year, I really want to be right at 6:25 or maybe a hair under 6:25.
Right, 6:32.
So
I love it.
I
You,
know, right?
it's just
Yeah.
that's
I think it's
awesome.
gonna be fun, man. My journey is kind of like it meanders and it's wild. So I do want to give the disclaimer. This is probably not going to be kid friendly just because of the content. Now I'm not going to be dropping F-bombs or anything like that. There's not going to be nothing like no profanity, but yeah, it's a wild journey and we'll get through it. Tell you about
Yeah.
it.
Well, I mean, so to kind of give the intro to everything, I was just making a cup of coffee, preparing for the interview, and so my last interview was with Penguin Toby, right? And he
Mhm.
hooked me up with coffee, and so I'm brewing his coffee, and it's going into the cup that Jackie here on in our Discord community hooked me up with. So I mean, cheers to I'm drinking coffee, you're drinking water or electrolytes of some sort, I would imagine. But thank you so very much to everybody.
Yeah. No, I love coffee. I drink it
And
black.
and to be sitting down here now with you and having this chat, it's pretty awesome from a synchronicity
Yeah, man.
standpoint. I love that stuff. So your running story, and that's kind of how I wanted to break the ice. When did you get
hmm
into running? How long have you been running for? What are you running from?
Yeah, I can totally roll with that. So I got into running because my mom was an ultra runner when I was a little kid. She was
Right.
running 50 milers and 100 milers, and actually she was elite. Like she represented the United States in the 92, 93, and 94 World Cup. So the
Wow.
100K World Cup is like the Olympics, but it's not in the Olympics because, a 62-mile run is kind of far and nobody would watch that. So, um, when I was like a toddler, she was doing 100-mile events, and I would be out there for, 24 hours or 30 hours with my dad. And here comes mom running up, and we thought, she's done. And she's like, changing shoes, eating food, and going. So, like, as a kid, I didn't even know what she was doing. I had no idea why we were just hanging around the aid station and seeing her do her thing. And she actually has run Boston twice. Um, and so it just kind of came naturally to me and my sister. I have a sister 4 years younger than me. We both ran cross country and track in high school. And that was just a big part of my life was just like little mini triathlons for kids and going to 5Ks, going to 10Ks and running, at a really young age. So I've been running since third grade. I would say competitively since fifth grade, sixth grade, kind of started getting into it. Running with the varsity guys. In ninth grade, I made the varsity team and was running
Nice.
pretty quick. I think high school I did a 4:36 mile. I got picked up for the local college here for a partial scholarship, like a half ride, and got my mile time down to a 4:19. Ran the half mile, so like 800 meters is half
Not
a mile, and I did
420?
that.
Not
No,
420? Okay, just
yeah.
checking.
Um, and then ran the half mile in a 1:59. No, 1:58.9. So under a 4 minute mile for half a mile, but.
Wow.
That's it's pretty fun, and running and being active, just getting out there, clearing my head has been one of the deals that have just like cleared my head, helped me to keep moving forward. But yeah, we can get into sort of what was going on inside my mind because I was a different person growing up, and you know, people they made fun of me. I was definitely bullied. I was a class clown, like funny, to try to offset being sort of different and picked on. But yeah,
Right.
we can definitely dive into whatever direction you want to take it.
Well, from I mean the standpoint of the class clown, right? Shout out to all the clowns that we know. But it takes a personality to deal with that, right? And you're always kind of you play that role. But
Mhm.
from a standpoint of being engaged in running, like running is a commitment to self. And it's obviously like cadence and everything else that's involved. I'm sure that you track that stuff. Like it's important to be on, right?
Yeah.
So from a uh, what I want to ask you specifically right now is um, when are your best runs? When do you like to run the most? In the morning, in the evening, afternoons? Like when are your favorite time to run, or when is your favorite time to run?
So basically, I like to kind of take the morning slow. Like I've got to get up and kind of get moving. I'll be 43 in July, so I'm not a spring chicken. It takes a minute to get moving. You don't just feel like running at 4 or 5 a.m. Some people do that. My mom used to run at 3 a.m. and I'm like, good grief. Um, so me, I get up, I like to have my coffee, snack, relax, foam roll, or move around, do some chores and stuff. I
Right.
like to run just 8 or 9 o'clock is kind of ideal when it's not hot yet, still got the crisp breeze, but the sun's out. For some reason, the sun being out or seeing it rise on me kind of gives me crazy amounts of energy because I've done other ultra events or like 24-hour mountain bike events or 18-hour mountain bike events where you basically start in the day, you ride, you take turns with partners. I did an 18-hour mountain bike event with a two-man team, so you switch off for 18 hours and go as far as you can. And I had a four-man team do a 24-hour of Moab, and so you're like seeing the middle of the night and you got to go out or sunrise, and I always like it when the sun's out.
Okay, so you were born at 9. I was checking my phone to confirm the time. 9:50, 9:16 in the evening, 9:16
Hmm.
p.m.
Hmm.
Um, so from a standpoint of like when you're most active, they say those who are born in the evening tend to be most active in the evening. Those who are born in the morning tend to be most active in the morning. So just something that I wanted to kind of figure out with respects to how you like to start your day and how you engage in your
Hmm.
day, and you take it slow, right, and get in with it as well. And it shout out to you being a father as well. So 3 kids, right?
Yep. Three kids. I'm a stay-at-home dad with them.
Right. And how old are they?
Almost 7, just turned 5 yesterday for my middle boy. So the 7-year-old's a girl, and then my youngest is going to be 3 in June. So
Gotcha.
753.
So how and what times do they like to get up?
Man, my middle boy doesn't really like to wake up. He's the hardest to kind of get going for school or get out of bed or whatever. Um, and my girls, they pop up, they're ready. They've thrown on their school clothes and just super eager to get ready and eat. And they're like my wife. So my wife is like get up super early and just go 90 miles an hour. And she's had to kind of learn not to bring a lot of questions because she gets up every day at 4, and I try to get up at 5 or 4:30. And she knows like let me have a little bit of coffee before we do a bunch of planning because it's kind of like, well, it grates on me if I'm not ready to receive all the questions. And to jump back a second, when I wasn't married, my favorite time was like 10 p.m. on, like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
back in the day when I was gaming. I used to play Quake Arena like all night long and just, I loved
Shout
it.
out to Quake.
I know, right? But I was a night owl, and a lot of things happen in marriage where you kind of meet in the middle or merge towards each other. And she's helped me to go to bed earlier, wake up a little bit earlier, and even on the emotional front, like she's helped me to not be so, I guess, sensitive and emotional, if you'd call that a weakness. And then I've helped her come out of her shell, like she comes into feeling more and talking about what she's feeling, and she's helped me to level off and meet in the middle, and it's been great.
That's amazing. So running. So you're a runner. Love to run. You are a night owl, so to speak, but you've come down in your ways, right? As a
Hmm.
father and husband, you're now more of a fine wine. You've
For
aged
sure.
gracefully, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
Now, with respects to you and your wife running together, how has that brought you guys evolved your relationship?
I mean, physical activity, period. Getting outdoors, hiking, disc golf, mountain biking. Just the name of the game is movement. Get outside, breathe fresh air. Don't be stagnant. Don't just sit there. That's been the key. And she runs early, has no problem just like getting up and going. So she usually always takes the early spot. And all three of my kiddos are in school. They're at a Montessori school, so they go 8 to 3, and so I get to run kind of whenever I want in the morning. Or if I get lazy or distracted, I'll be running in the heat of the day. But I don't mind. I don't mind running in the heat.
That's awesome. So with respects to, I'm just trying to think here, in the um, evolution of a runner,
Hmm.
growing into, your 40, you said 43, right?
About to
43
be.
year old, about to be 43. We're at July
Hmm.
18th, I think you said.
Right.
Right,
Yep.
Cancer. Um, how have you uh, matured? You mentioned
Yeah.
the other day we were on the Discord call. You talked about adding in weightlifting to your
Hmm.
regime, right, to help
Yeah.
carry the load, right?
For sure. Yeah, I can definitely go on this for a second. So if you're talking genetics and you're talking natural abilities, I had a portion for sure. Now, I didn't have enough to be an Olympian. You could call me like 8 or 9 out of 10 on like being pro or being able to be pro. Now, if I went back to high school and I really worked hard and diligently, I may have been able to be a pro runner just with natural abilities, genetics, and stuff. But if we take it back to high school, I mean, I loved moving and loved running, but I also was kind of running from something. It was not knowing who I was. That's always been my biggest downfall is not knowing how I fit into the world, not knowing how my uniqueness jived with reality. It was a really lonely, strange feeling to be disconnected. Like I liked myself as the person I thought I was, but who I was presenting myself to into the real world, there's a huge disconnect. And I'll come back to that thought process in a minute because it's weighty, and a lot of my high school years and a lot of my younger years were really difficult, and it led to a lot of bad stuff.
Okay.
But as a runner back then, here's what's interesting. I liked it and I was good at it and I was fast and I could do short bursts, half mile, kind of all out. But as you got into like the 5Ks and the 10Ks, kind of the longer distances, when the suffering came on and it really got hard, like winded and muscle pain and strain, I had a tendency of folding, like giving up or being weak or being in my mind, being like, I just can't do it. This is too hard and slowing down. And I would even, my whole countenance, my body would slump. And I would almost like show how tired I was as I was running, almost like it was the excuse. Everyone could see I was super tired. And that's why I didn't continue the pace that I had. It wasn't completely about fitness level. It was like, mental. It takes a lot of mental strength and fortitude to keep pushing through the pain when you don't want to keep going. And because I had so much confusion about my identity, and because I had so much emotional baggage and pain that I was carrying already, when the pain of running intensified, I would fold relatively easy. And so my mom and dad, they knew how strong I was as a runner, and usually practices would go really well. Like I would just smoke practices. And then when their game day came, and all the stuff was on the line, I would emotionally kind of overload and push myself to the limit, but I would quit because I was weak-minded and kind of like a weak dude. And I can say that now because now that I'm spiritually more grounded and understand who I am, thanks to God, I'm able to go deeper into that pain cave. Even at 43, I can perform better than when I was any age. A kid, a college runner, like I'm better than I am now, and a lot of it's that old man strength, but also the wisdom. But hope that made sense. Not having the emotional baggage lets me perform physically better in this world than if I had a bunch of pain I was carrying around inside.
That makes sense. I mean, it's you can only carry as many bags as you can carry, right? Having
Right.
excess baggage is
Yeah,
just excess weight to carry. Um,
sure.
but I mean, you hit on so many different things. So, from a standpoint of identity of self,
Hmm.
that being, your stonewalling of helping you become this efficient runner, um,
Hmm.
you being able to find and seek that out, has that been something that running has cleared your been able to just clear that excess out, or have you just found that in running you've been able to release the additional baggage? Like, where did the therapeutic aspect of you canceling out that baggage come from?
Yeah. So the common theme that anyone that's listening that doesn't even know me needs to understand is I've been a runner my entire life since third grade. I did take 7 years off after college where I just kind of like, I gained probably 15 pounds where you could just grab a little love handles on your side. Your neck was filling out, you know what I mean? Your face was kind of filling out,
Right.
just eating junk and playing disc golf, being just kind of a bum. I mean, sedentary, doing nothing. So I know what it's like to get completely out of shape to where if you jogged across a parking lot or something, you'd be winded and be like, oh, gassed. So I do know what it's like to be out of shape for sure. Um, but the theme of running, it's kept me the same body shape. So like since high school to now, I've worn the same size clothes. I've generally been the same weight. I've basically looked the same. The healing came when I hit rock bottom at 27 years old, like completely destroyed after being my own God for, sixth grade all the way to 27. Even though I identified as a Christian and said like, oh yeah, yeah, Jesus, I gave my life to Jesus a while back. I went to summer camp and I'm a believer. Yeah, I believe he died for my sins. Well, in all truth and honesty, I didn't surrender to Jesus the way I spent money and the way I looked at girls.
Hmm.
So I always chose how I dated and how far I went or didn't. And because of that, it was almost like what I had in my mind was like this fictitious version of Christ, or I made up in my head. And because I'm born and raised in the Bible Belt of East Texas, everybody's a Christian. So I knew like Christianese or Christian trademark, but I truly wasn't set free. And I didn't really ask him into my heart fully because I didn't surrender all. I know that kind of sounds a little bit religious, but in honesty, the problem always was I was trying to either find the answers myself or be my own God. I was operating out of my own will, my own power, my own emotions, almost like egotistical or prideful in a way, like I can figure this out. I can fix this, even though I'd bounce in the gutters, out of the gutters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, from a standpoint of seeing the end of the road, right? And
Hmm.
knowing that you're going to get to that end of the road no matter what, almost like a horse running a race with the blinders on. You can only see that goal, right? And you're
Hmm.
aware of that goal only. But from a standpoint of when you actually start to open those blinders up and take them off and start to look around and realize that there are actually options that exist, if you maybe stop looking at it from a standpoint of taking into receiving, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where a lot of the magic comes from. The essence of life is
Yeah.
when we actually forget about, that final destination, and as you say, being your own creator, in the essence of taking the control for you, and saying that I'm just going to experience it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, in my heart, going through a similar thing, summer of 2020, where, I started to just look at things from a standpoint of like each item, um, not people, right? But just the item itself as a created object. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
created it, just like we're in a creation now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And respecting that thing as it's created to be as such, right? Not perverting
Right.
it, not taking it, i.e., a cup is to be filled up, not flipped upside down and not used as a cup, right? And that's
Right.
just
Right.
one small example. Like, you use something, you put it back in its place. You wake up out of your bed in the morning, you make your bed, right? It's just respecting things as you go throughout the steps. And I believe that when you start to build upon that idea,
Mm-hmm.
it starts to lead towards magical things, right?
Sure.
And I think that that's, you know in your journey, when you flip that switch on a personal level, right? Again, the testimony that I've heard you give over the last, well, since we've known each other really via Discord, right, has
Mm-hmm.
been about very much of, let go and let God, if you will, as is said within the church. Um,
Yeah.
with respects to, your daily goals, activities, things that you accomplish, as a family man, what
Mm-hmm.
do you do with yourself these days?
Man, I will totally go there and get you caught up because like now you're asking me about me now. And I need to fill in a little bit more of a void, and I think you'll find it interesting
Okay,
of the past. So
please.
if we jump back to high school for a second, or even before, let's just say I'm a toddler, right?
Okay.
Um, growing up, a toddler is basically only going to experience like someone being mean if they just take their toy or don't share. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The meanness and the evil or the darkness is like someone yanked that out of my hands or somebody hit me with something hard and it hurt. Like that's it. Because they're basically innocent and they're basically just people just trying to figure out how to like play with other people around, right? In the high school years, this is where it's weird. I was so free and so available to love anybody and everybody. I was looked at like the enemy, maybe. I don't know. Because I could go to the jocks or the preps, good looking people, not good looking people, all the different races. It didn't matter. Special needs people. It didn't matter. Everybody at school of all ages and the teachers, I could be like, hey, how's your day going today? Well, what have you been doing? Who are you? Like just excited to see who you are, see what you're about. But because I could flow amongst the entire campus freely, loving all, next thing you know, I'm a weirdo. And people thought I was crazy, or basically, they actually said, you're gay. You're the gayest person I've ever seen in my life. And the boys were like, why are you such a fag? And I was like, I'm not. I'm straight. I like women. They're like, well, you run around like a prissy, prancy, whatever, because I walked on my toes. I just always walked on my toes. And it's so weird how I don't have anything but love for people, and I'm almost attacked at all angles just from being unique and different. And it really never should have been that way. And I don't know if the whole Rockefeller system of school or what, or, Satan, it just that was the beginning point of the derailment of JT, of who I was gonna be. I mean, obviously, right where I'm at now, everything's fine. Everything's been reset. I'm a whole new person. That's where I'll get to. But the amount of pain that a person can go through when they're not accepted for who they are, and while they're trying to figure out who they are, is staggering, mind blowing. And so, like, we're looking around now at a generation of kids that are being groomed towards some bad stuff. And you know what we're talking about. I mean, all the stuff you see about confusion of identity is wild. And if I superimpose or kind of take who I was and what all I went through and I take it to now, who knows what I would end up believing the way I wanted to go would be. Thank God I did go through the struggle. I mean, I got bullied and picked on. That's fine. A lot of people did. I was confused about who I was. That's normal. A lot of people are not comfortable in their own skin, or they don't like to hear their own voice on audio. Um, but you know, I did care more about friends and relationships and nature and the excitement of life. I never was suicidal. I never got like in just end it. Some people get that way. They hear voices or they don't know where to turn or it's just too heavy for them to bear. Yes, I went through horrific emotional turmoil and pain and confusion, but I never wanted to quit. I just wanted to just see what the next day had. I knew better was coming, but as I painted that whole picture of confusion that was caused by the bullying, it set me on this trajectory of, well, I'm going to prove I'm not gay. I'm going to be a baller. I'm going to be a player. I'm going to have two girlfriends at once, or I'm going to be having one on the side. So I was mischievous and I was deceptive and I was a liar and I was a player because I was just trying to be cool,
Right.
and fell into that pattern of bad relationship after another. Um, I would fall usually pretty fast. I'd be like, oh, this is the one. And I would like overlay in my mind the best qualities of this person, even though who I was about to date also had a lot of issues emotionally. And then so you had two emotionally unstable people trying to fill the voids and trying to like prop each other up temporarily, but in that whole paradigm, you've got a person expecting the other person to ease the pain, expecting the other person to fill the void. And if you are requiring that from that other person, they can't sustain it. So it always ended in fighting, it always ended up in breaking up. And then there's just more pain added onto the pile of pain that I was carrying. So to speed up through this whole first section, that led to trying multiple drugs like partying, getting into different drug culture scenes to be accepted. And I mean, if you're willing to, do ecstasy, you're going to find a group of people that want to do that and sit around and party on the weekends and get super high and enjoy just that free, MDMA feeling of letting loose and having all the baggage fall away. But the bad thing with that is it's a counterfeit release. It's Satan's solution to the pain that the world's piled on, and it is a quick fix. You can take a drug and remove all baggage, emotionally, spiritually, etc. But then you're stuck in that cyclical cycle of, okay, I'm now that I'm down or have recovered from the party, I still feel like crap and I'm still whatever. So years and years of that went by. Um, Graduated college, went into hotel management, was checking people in and out of hotels. So I really was in the hospitality industry, enjoyed the people person skill of that. Smoked a lot of weed during that time, like 3.5 years. I stayed high, just 3.5 years straight, wake and bake all day long. I mean, went and snowboarded, went and mountain bike raced, went and just, I mean, all the time. So that in that lifestyle, it was great because people would get a new strain, or they would like, oh, you got some more. Oh, that's real good. Oh, what's the name of that? And we just baked, cooked food, enjoyed movies, laughed, and had relationship, but really the God was the weed in a way.
Yeah.
It was like the high and the experience and stuff was what it was really all about. Even though there was some love and some connection and some stuff going on there, that was the last part of my life before I surrendered. Um, and it was fun. Like I would take away nothing from my past because I'm where I'm at now. I'm so healthy now. It's like I would not want to remove anything. Um, but I realized that I didn't know who I was again, because if you're high all the time, then you are JT on a substance, or you're
Right.
JT experiencing life, experiencing reality, you know, with with weed. And I think that weed is an okay thing. I think that we have THC receptors in our brain for a reason. I think medicinally, and it's here for a good purpose, etc. But I mean, I was obviously abusing it because I would try to get as high as freaking possible. And I would even smoke myself sober sometimes. I'd be like, "Oh no, I went overboard and now I'm just back to normal,"
Like, oh
which is
well,
kind of,
dog chasing
I
its
know, right?
tail.
So, to say all that, now you're asking me what's my daily life like. I guess I need to get you from there to here. So, I was
Well,
dating a girl.
okay. So
Yeah,
let's hit pause for a quick sec.
yeah,
Um, Awareness,
yeah,
right? Awareness of anything that you're engaged with is or engaged in is key.
yeah.
And that's something that obviously,
Mhm.
you smoke too much and the wheels fall off the wagon and nobody's getting anywhere anytime soon. And you also, yeah, you lose track of where's ground zero, right? Like you've gone 100 levels up and you can't come back to zero. Oh well. That's obviously something that will impact you as you go on.
Mhm.
Now from a Sorry, I've got my window open. It's like 28
No,
degrees here in
that's
Toronto,
good.
man. It's nice as ever. And
Yeah,
yeah, I've got motorbikes and stuff going by, so apologize for
all
the
good.
background noise.
Hmm.
Um, so coming back to where you are nowadays,
Mm.
um, you met a girl. She's your wife.
Yeah, 10
3 kids
years ago,
later,
just over 10 years ago, or actually 12 and a half years ago.
right?
We've been
And
married for two.
so, that's where you were heading to when you mentioned the girl, or did I jump ahead?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I could definitely take you through like the surrender if you wanted.
No,
I
no,
would
it's
probably,
totally, dude. I apologize profusely. I thought that's where you were jumping to. Sorry. So,
yeah,
I had asked you your daily life nowadays.
yeah. And I mean, I guess I'll finish painting the picture of who I was to how
Thank
I
you.
got to where am now, if it's not too much like bantering.
No, no,
Um,
dude. It's totally good. We're just hanging out chatting, man. It's all
So
good.
I enjoyed living in Vail, Colorado. I was a hotel manager, assistant manager at a ski and ski out lodge. So we would like snowboard all morning from like first tracks until 2 in the afternoon, and I would work the 3 to 11 shift. Or I would, anyway, snowboarding stoner was just it. I met a girl and I moved from Colorado to Atlanta, Georgia. This is the last girl that I was dating before I met my wife.
Gotcha.
And I thought, man, she's the one. She's from Maine and she's a hippie chick and she likes weed and she likes, mountain sports and everything's great. I moved in with her in Atlanta, Georgia. She was a anthropologist, or no, she was at Emory University for, I think it was anthropology, maybe. But she didn't believe that there was a creator. She said, "We're just animals. When we die, that's it. This life is all you get, and you better have as much fun as you possibly can." And I was like, "Well, that's weird. I hadn't really, thought that way." I also, at this point in my life, like the whole Colorado scene and all that, I didn't think about God at all. I didn't read the Bible at all. I was just, just a dude. You could say I really merged into agnosticism, where I was like, I don't know, man, it's too complicated for me. I'm just gonna chill. You know what I mean? And so I moved in with this girl, and it ended up being the most, I would say, violent verbally. So like it was a hair from actually being hit, abused with fists.
Right.
But it was the most verbally abusive relationship I've ever been in. And I had never been in a relationship like that. I have had drama and I have had cheating and like sadness or like falling out of love with somebody or having somebody fall out of love with me and just want to like leave. And that hurt and all. But this was the first time I ever had somebody berating and belittling every single ounce of what I thought I was, who I thought I was, like how I did the dishes or how I operated this way or how I, who I was got bullied and picked on again. And just like, but here's the weird part about this is we would have big fights or arguments about stuff. And I'd say, "Well, I'm upset because you said this to me." And she's like, "Well, I didn't say it like that though. I said it like this." And it became like, "Wait a minute. No,
Yeah.
no, you said that to me in a way that felt like knives were sticking into my chest and my mind was blowing
Yeah.
because after so many fights, I was like, am I losing my mind? And in this relationship, am I not perceiving what's actually going on?
Yeah.
Or is she the crazy one?"
Yeah.
And so she left for a 25-day vacation to Mexico with her brother. And I was broke. I had like $20,000 credit card debt, and I was so broke. I was like, I got to stay here and try to find a job. And this was all like meant to be, because I was like, I'm gonna put the pipe down. I'm gonna get sober. So I got 5 days, maybe 6 days into not smoking for the first time in 3.5 years. Kind of clarity came, and just sort of pondering who I was and just thinking about life and just trying to figure out things. I honestly felt in my chest, like my whole chest cavity filled with a question. Are you happy with where you are now? Because way back, if I did something wrong, if I sinned, I knew I had done something wrong. I had conviction, I had guilt, shame, and I would like kind of like, ooh, don't think about that, don't look at it. But merging from that kid that used to know right from wrong, I had gotten all the way to the point where I could do anything or look at anything on the internet and have no guilt.
No
And
guilt about it. Yeah.
I was like, I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
not. So I would say I'm not a murderer and I'm not a rapist. So I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
not doing any of that stuff. But there was no conviction or condemnation for anything. But basically,
You could
this,
justify your behavior, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. I wouldn't even have to. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even have to justify anything because I didn't think I was doing anything wrong.
Yeah. No, but what I'm
It had
saying is like
gotten,
if you were brought to that point, right, you always had a backup for it, right? In your
oh,
mental
sure.
set.
100%. Because I remember my sister one time came out and I was like smoking in front of her and stuff, and she was like, "What if what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
what if people, what if you told them you were a Christian?" I was like, "Oh no, I don't tell anybody that." You know what I mean? I had totally walked away from it. So what I think happened was God is not going to force himself into your life. And if you want to go your own way, he's going to completely let you go wherever you want to go. And it was, I believe, his passive wrath where he was saying, JT, if you're going to be God of your life, like 100%, you don't want my guidance and you don't want any of my help, you got this, big guy, go for it. And I guess 6 or 7 years went like that, where he was being loving because I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't want any help, and he just stepped away, or he let me step away. And so this moment happened where my girlfriend was gone, I was chilling. I got asked this question, are you happy with how your life is? Like right now, where you're at? The answer was no. I was destroyed. And so the offer, because I know this is a consent based real realm. The offer was, do you want to go a different way? Do you want to go with me? Do you want to head in this direction? And I mean, I knew it was the Holy Spirit. I knew it was the offer to go with God. And but what's crazy about it is I didn't see a Bible. I didn't see a TV evangelist. It was out of nowhere. And that's what makes my testimony even more powerful is I literally got rescued from myself at the lowest point of my life.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I wrote all this stuff down. So I felt myself hanging from the ends of these ropes where I'd always said, like, this is how I'm going to spend my money. This is how I'm going to look at girls. And I knew I just needed to let go of it all. And I free fell into darkness. This is all emotionally, of course, almost kind of like a vision, but more of a daydream. And I just said, I'm yours, 100%. And I had to tell my girlfriend when she called, like, hey, I've had and I told her it was a spiritual awakening. I
Awakening.
was like, I've had a spiritual awakening. And she's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And I was like, I'll tell you when you get back. And she's like, no, tell me now. And I was like, I gave my life to Jesus. And she got so pissed,
Pissed.
dude. She was
Yeah.
like, what are you even talking about? Like, I
Yeah.
almost wanted to wring my neck across the phone. And then to fast forward this part, she came back. I didn't want to sleep in the same bed anymore. I was like, I'm just gonna sleep on the couch. No, I don't want to kiss you anymore. I just kind of want to chill. Can we be friends? And then I moved out.
Slow
But I
withdrawal.
left all my I left all my stuff. Like I brought the cookware, I brought all the furniture, I bought the TV, everything. I left it, and I paid rent for like 7 months because I didn't want to leave her high and dry. It wasn't
Yeah.
right. And so anyway, um, I left that whole situation with hopes of, whatever this was going to be, and moved back to East Texas from Atlanta, Georgia, and moved in with my sister and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And posted on Facebook, I want to do something to help people. Like, I need to do something to help people. And people posted back, like, to volunteer here, volunteer there. And they didn't know like I had all this debt. It's like, I need to make money
Yeah.
helping people. And so this one guy, a friend of mine, wrote back and said, "Hey, holler at me. I've got something for you." And I knew when I read it
Right.
that that was it, and I didn't even know what it was. So my old youth pastor, when I was like 15 years old, said, "Hey, I'm the CEO of this boys ranch here in town for troubled teens, and we're about to start up this transitional living program. It's 16 to 18-year olds, and there are going to be five or six of them. I want you to come in and man the house, and you'll have a partner who will let you go home 3.5 days of the week, but you're going to live out here for 3.5 days a week." And I was like, there's no way I can do that. I haven't taken any psychology. I don't know anything about troubled teens, not really. Like, no, you got this. All you got to do is love them. And I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh man. So half the kids there were emotionally disturbed, like ED diagnosed because of neglect, abuse. Their parents were on drugs and like just left them in their soiled diaper, didn't feed them, real bad stuff.
Right.
Physically abused them, sexually abused them. And then half the kids were troubled from like gangbangers and troublemakers from school that the state put there. So you had these full adult grown males with the mental capacity sometimes of like a 12-year-old in like an 18-year-old's body watching like Pokemon and not getting it. And anyway, 3.5 years, man, that's where I ended up. That's where I did my healing. I knew I wanted to help them. So I literally put blinders on like this. I stopped looking at porn, not even a bit. I didn't want it anymore because I knew that what I was looking at was broken people and it was just hurting me and it wasn't giving me any value. And I just got set free from that when I started following Christ.
Right.
And I told the boys that I was like, you don't need to look at that stuff. It's just going to hurt you. I helped them get jobs. I helped them hold their crap together. And so the 3.5 days that I was not at the ranch, I was living with my dad, who my mom and dad divorced after 30 years of marriage. And so he was pretty broken. So I was helping my broken dad and I was helping these broken kids for 3.5 years as all I wanted to do was heal. And I'm telling you, bro, that's the best setting for me after everything I had done wrong with drugs and with sexual stuff. It was just the way for me to heal. And after that experience, I remember one day just like kind of looking up and going, wow, you're a totally different person. You don't think the way you used to think. You don't do the things you used to do. And it's really, all of it's not about what you do bad and what you do good. It's about like, who are you trusting for guidance and for direction and for your forward progress? Are you trusting yourself to guide you the whole way to the end, or are you trusting the creator? Well, I trusted the creator, and when I asked, am I ready to date, I met Becky 1 week later. I mean, it was just
Wow.
one of those stories that's like, how did that even happen? All of it. How did it even happen?
Right. So,
So,
with respects to um, you asking yourself that continued question, am I giving the right advice and things of that nature? Like, I find it weighing, it's the heart and the mind, the heart and the brain.
mm-hmm,
I've always kind of adopted not adopted, but thought that the brain is a representative of the ego, and the heart
mm-hmm,
is a representative of your true emotion, almost for, men who follow the creator, the Holy Spirit, right? You're divine,
right.
and then your ability to take on take on the messaging from both. You develop your innate, and that's what kind of leads you, right?
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
the understanding of your emotion, it seems that's your your commitment, it would appear, to people, that you
mm-hmm.
want to work with their emotions. You're not looking to yourself for the answers, things of that nature. um, the emotional connection within this entire thing, have you
Yeah.
felt that is what has led you, your connection to people, your emotions versus your brain?
100%. I feel like I've always been an empath, and it's quite a bit of it was what people made fun of me for, and I don't think they got it. I didn't get it, and they didn't understand why. They thought I was weird,
Right.
but I just wanted to hear other people's story. Even though I'm talking today about me and I'm filibustering on you about my life,
Right.
really, I try to listen not just to the words people are saying, but you can almost see in the creases of their eyes or see in their eyes or their voice and the cracks in their voice as they speak.
Right.
I don't know. I don't want to make it too like woo woo, but
No,
I have
but
been able to
hold on.
read.
Hold on. So let's take the idea of empathy,
Yeah.
right? Empath, empathy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sympathy. So we're just going to
Mm-hmm.
paint these two pictures for a quick second so we can draw a comparison. So sympathy, right? Oh, I'm so very sorry that you broke your leg, right? I have sympathy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm expressing empathy, right? Hey, I broke my leg in XYZ. I know how you're feeling, right? An alignment of spirit. So you being who you are, an empath is you looking at an individual, right? Taking on their
Mm-hmm.
emotion, knowing and feeling what they're going through, and being able to honestly receive their emotion and put it back. Is there anything I can do for you? Help, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I mean, people, strangers have wanted to tell me life stories and dump all sorts of stuff. And it's like my whole life, it's like, I don't know. They've trusted me with secrets and wanted to talk to me more. And I don't think it was ever me. I think it's a gift. I think we're born into different gifts. We have different talents. And one of mine was just this innate ability to be childlike and to desire and want connection, real connection. Not because you're going to give me something, not because I'm going to get this out of this, just the raw I care about you as a different human than me. And I love you, even though I've just met you for a second on the street. Like I have love for you. I
Right.
think more than most people would have, or that's not how a lot of people operate.
Yeah. And that is such a valuable point, right? Being able to just take the time to connect with an individual, right,
Hmm.
versus looking for the mass appeal of something, perhaps the identification of self, identification of ego, versus just being able to go with the flow.
Yeah.
So I mean, now like I'll just be transparent as ever and tell you like my core reason for wanting to interview with you and chat with you is seeing your birthday, right?
Yeah.
July 18th.
Right.
Um, saw that you were a Cancer. A very special friend of mine. She's a Cancer as well. And when I saw the 718, I'm like, I really need to talk with this guy because I'm a Scorpio myself, right? And we share
Hmm.
the commonality of the water element, which again, through the expression and understanding of yourself, right, and the emotions and what have that's been your connection. Um,
Hmm.
that's something that I really had to connect with you with and chat
Yeah.
on, brother. It's been an absolute dynamite chat. We've been chatting for 47 minutes now. Are you cool on time? Are you good
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of rolling right into meeting Becky, and I
Yeah.
can give some stuff on there because when I saw her, it was so the boys' ranch, right? I never had Saturdays off. Like there was just no way because I was the responsible head of the house
Right.
out there. But I had this specific Saturday off and I was going to go see my sister for something. And I had my car packed and it was loaded and I was like putting it in drive to leave to get on I-20 and head to Dallas. And I just knew the way I was going to go. I'd already visualized it. I had already packed to do it. And usually when I'm that far along in the mental processing of what I'm going to do, like I'm on, music's on and we're going. But a thought popped into my mind. Hey, it's Saturday. Why don't you go out to the road bike group and meet your best friend, Seth, and go on that group ride you never get to go on? It's like, oh, okay. And I just like grinded the gears towards my dad's to get my bike. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go on a road bike ride and then I'll head to my sister's. And so of course Seth is late and he's always late. And the group leaves and I'm just like, dude, where are you at? He's like, I'm almost there, bro. So he gets there and we're pretty fast. So we start like echeloning and I take the lead, he takes the lead, and we're just like catching up with the group that's left like 15 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago. And then we come up on the back rider, and I'm like, "Who's that? Who's that?" And it was Becky, and neither of us had seen her before. She was so the whole other universe was her parents were getting into triathlon and they were saying like, "Hey, you need to get a road bike. You need to start riding. Triathlon is super fun." So she bought a carbon fiber bike, had never clipped in, had never gotten a road bike, and she was practicing medicine. She was in med school at UNT Health Science Center in Fort Worth, but they had her doing all these rural rotations. So she was close enough to my hometown that during this one rotation, she just Googled road biking groups in East Texas and found the group that met in Tyler. And I come whipping into the parking lot, and then like there she is. And so I roll up on her. And I'm like, "Hey, I don't recognize you. You're not one of the ones in the group usually. Who are you?" "I'm JT." She's like, "Hey, I'm Becky." And I was like, "Yeah, road biking's super fun." She's like, "I've barely done it. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know how to shift these gears really." I was like, "Oh man, yeah." And then so my buddy Seth saw me talking to a girl, and he zipped past me going like 28 miles an hour. He did like a sprint past me. And I was like, "There he is. I got to go by." And I took off after Seth. So that was my very first interaction with Becky. And then the next week, she came back for another ride. And, like we had our glasses and, we had them on our helmet or whatever. And I could see her eyes. And there was something about the dark part of her eyes that I had never seen in anybody in my life. And it wasn't that I thought she was hot, and it wasn't that I was attracted to her. There was something there, though, that I could not explain. And it was just,
Window, the window to the soul.
oh, dude, I had no idea. So, on that ride, I actually went slower and I rode with her a bit. And I was like, "Okay, so when you're going up a hill, you need to be thinking about making an easier gear shift before the hill. And this is how you use your gears to go down a hill and go really fast." And we had a great time and we became friends. Uh, the first time we talked on the phone, though, it was too intense. Like, I'm enjoying our conversation. I know it's being recorded. This is our first time to talk, but this is great. I'm loving it. But with her, I was like, "Hey," and it was too fast. I had not talked to a girl in 3.5 years. It was, I knew something was there, didn't know what it was. But as we were talking, I didn't have a governor on my feelings or what. So I told her, I was like, "Hey, I really like talking with you, but let me just shoot you some messages on Facebook." Or kind of awkward. So then we started this letter writing on Facebook Messenger where we'd write this and I'd write that, and I could be intentional. So we were talking a little bit, or we need to talk a little bit about intentionality, where I knew I was out of control emotionally when I first talked to her. So I off ramped to letter writing where I could back up a sentence, think about it, read what she read, fix it. So after 100 pages typed of just communicating with her that way, we
Wow.
went on our first non-date because it
Wow.
wasn't a date. We were just getting
Wow.
together for a run.
Yeah.
And
Talk about
it's
organic, eh? Like it just
dude,
that what really hits me is how organic, and you literally were just you, as you said, governing it the entire way to make it fruitful.
man, I can't take any of the credit. This was like a God
Yeah.
deal.
Eh,
100%.
that's
So the continuation of the intentionality, that was the name of the game. I just told her from the beginning. I said, "Hey, you're the first girl that I've even talked to in 3.5 years.
right.
I've got a past that's quite ugly, but I've left that past behind. I'll tell you about it one day. But now I'm living for Christ. I just want to bring glory to God, and I just want to know the Messiah. I want to know the Savior. That's what I'm all about." And she asked some people. She was like, "Is JT for real? That just sounds real hokey." Like, I mean, she was a believer, but what I was selling her, she's like, "There's no way that this dude is really like pursuing the Messiah." And people are like, "No, he's pretty sold out. Like, he
He's
hadn't
pretty
dated
sold
anybody."
out. What?
Yeah, in a while.
Okay.
So she was like, "Okay, cool, bet." And as we did start to see each other, and we had the DTR, the dating to relationship story. I remember we went to Whole Foods. I was for our first kind of date, we went on like a 6 mile run. When we went to Whole Foods, we got a rotisserie chicken to tear apart with our hands, like at Whole Foods, which is really messy. And then I was like, "Hey, have you had kombucha?" She's like, "Come, what is that?" And I was like, "Kombucha, it's super good. It's like got a SCOBY in it. It's like the mother." She's like, "That's weird. What is it? Symbiotic yeast, good for your gut, flora, bacteria." And she's like, "I don't know. I'll try it." Well, anyway, we tried it. That's a hilarious first date drink.
That's awesome.
And we drink kombucha all the time now. But oh, I do remember this one part. This might trip y'all out. So I was like, hey, let's pray. And so like we got each other's hands across the table. And I just remember going into it like, Heavenly Father, please bless this food, this opportunity to run, and whatever, just whatever I prayed. But this is what happened. It felt like my head went like this. Wah, 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 like really, really far, fast, back and forth with this wah, 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 wah. And I was like, and she was like, are you okay? Like, calm down. Is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, amen. And then we ate, and I got to tell her about it later. Honestly, dude, I have never experienced that, but that one time.
That's crazy.
So I knew something was up.
Yeah.
I told her, let's take it slow, let's chill, let's get to know each other. I really love the letter writing. And by taking it slow, like it took probably 2 or 3 months before I even put my arm around her, or it took a good couple months before I even held her hand. And I guess we were like 8 months into the relationship, and New Year's was coming up, and I said, "Hey, I know New Year's is like gonna happen, and I don't want our first kiss to be like cliche like that. That's like lame. I don't want to do that." And she's like, "Oh, okay, no, that makes sense, because we hadn't kissed." And the whole premise, the whole idea of like taking it that slow was I remember how much I had been through in the bad places of
Right.
what we can do physically, sexually, etc.
Right.
And I just told her, I was like, look, you're too precious to me. And I don't want to start a spark that ignites a fire that I can't control and that gets out of control. And she's like, no, I get that. That's cool. So that little like, hey, let's not kiss on New Year's turned into let's not kiss until we're married. And so I was like, "Ah, okay, that's fine. Let's do it. That's awesome."
What?
Yeah, it's totally wild. In this day and age, who knows?
That
Especially
is
with like
amazing.
a crazy dude.
Holy. So the
But
first time you kissed your wife, just to be clear and be dramatic about it, was on the altar.
yes, I'll
JT
build it up.
Boston.
I'll build it up. Hold on.
All right, all right.
So, so, give me just a second.
Take your time.
Okay. So it was super fun to be that intentional. And like I did get turned on, dude, just sitting there, just being in her presence. And I would say like, or we went camping, two sleeping bags, and I'd have to leave the tent, and I,
Yeah.
I would say like, hey, I'll be back. And she knew that I was physically attracted to her and there was tension for
Mm-hmm.
sure, but I would leave the room. I'd be like, okay, be back, I'll be back. And she didn't laugh at me or nothing like that.
Yep.
She knew I was honoring her. She knew I loved her and cared about her, but I hadn't said I love you yet. She told me, this is what's hilarious about this whole story. Like 3 months into our relationship, she told me that she told her best friend that I was the man she was going to marry. We hadn't even talked about marriage. We hadn't talked about anything like that. And she's like, yeah, so I told so and so the other day, like you were the guy I was going to marry. And to me, I was like, what? What are you saying? But that kind of gave me the green light to fast roll the proposal, which happened, I guess, I don't exactly know, maybe 5 months or 6 months. But I flew out to El Paso to meet her dad. And upon meeting him, I also was like, hey, can I have your daughter's hand in marriage? Which was kind of awkward because he was a president of a biker gang, kind of a rough and tough guy, meeting me for the first time. But I told him, like, pulled him aside and was like, look, we're totally doing this the right way. We completely feel like God brought us together. I'm honoring her in ways I've never honored anybody. And I think that your daughter deserves to be surprised because she knows we're going to get married. Like she told me, but she does not know that I'm going to ask her on this trip. And I've got the ring, and I would love your blessing to come to this race. It was the race in El Paso. Dang, I can't remember the name of it. I'm blanking on it. It has to do with Madness. No, it had to do with like the march. Or no, Baton. The Baton Death March is my wife's favorite race, and it's like people will ruck it and like take heavy sacks over the whole marathon. And anyway, so I ran the marathon with the ring in my little spy belt, and I'll send you the video because the proposal's videoed. Um, and I got finished, and I told her because I'd always have her feel my heart, because you can feel my heart beat really easy through my flesh because I don't have like a lot of, you can just feel it
Yeah.
like the whole thing. And so at the end, I acted like I was doing a post race interview of the race, And I said, they were recording it, and I was like, "Hey, feel my heart. It's beating like real crazy." And she felt it. She's like, "Yeah, you just ran a marathon." Hee hee hee. I said, "No, it's beating like I'm about to ask you to marry me." And she
Bro,
like looked like crazy because her dad was there and her stepmom was there and her mom was there. And I dropped down on one knee, or actually I said, no, I think I said I love you. So this was the first time I ever said I love you.
right.
Was right after I asked her to marry me, which is also crazy. So that all happened, and then it rolled, and then I just told her, "Hey, let's just wait until we're married." And so I got the video of that too. I know it's kind of like squishy, but if anybody wants to see it, she comes down the aisle at her mom's house. We got married on January 1st at noon, so
Wow.
really cool wedding
That's
day.
awesome.
And yeah, the first kiss was right after. Oh, but this is another funny part. I'm sorry.
It's all good
Okay,
too. Take your time, man. It's no
so
problem.
we got married at May 19th in front of everybody as like a celebration of what God had done in our life. The wedding happened January 1st, like the actual marriage happened because she wanted my last name on all her certificates for the military and for being a doctor. So the game plan was because we told her parents we hadn't kissed yet. And they were like, "You hadn't kissed yet? What?" They thought it was crazy. I said, "Yeah, we've done like the nosy kiss, and like, I've kissed her on the cheek." And they said, "That's weird." I said, "But I don't want to kiss her yet." Like I had made the game plan that we would continue to wait until the May 19th wedding, but and they thought that was weird. So when I did kiss her on January 1st, our real wedding, the guy doing the ceremony said, "And now vested in me by the power of the Holy Spirit." As he was saying that, I said to her, I whispered, "I'm going to kiss you." Because I needed to pull that audible because I wasn't about to fake a kiss when the real wedding was really happening. So she was even surprised in the moment that I pulled an audible, took the kiss, and it's on video, and you should see her face after. Anyway, so that started everything off, man, and we've always lived transparent, open, honest. We haven't had any kind of knockdown fight where I've left the room or slammed a door or cussed at her or yelled at her, or none of that stuff. It's just been a marriage of no passive aggressive tones. Like, just don't pick on me like that. That's not going to do anything good. We do pick and play, and we do have, some different talks that are hard, especially if once we get up to the whole true earth thing and other things that we learned about the deceptions recently. That's been the hardest. It's been the hardest on us this last year as I've found out this stuff, which we'll get to it. So yeah, man, beautiful marriage, beautiful kids. Who she is to me is more than what I could have. If somebody said, "God's going to give you whatever you want," write it down, every detail of what you want in a person, in a wife, as a mother, and all of it. I could have tried, but he gave me better than I deserved and better than I could have written when I gave up and just followed him wholly. And didn't weird it out with like churchiosity or Christianity ease stuff. Like I literally just wanted to follow my maker and make him proud. One of the things I think about often is I try to live my life like every people group is around me, every race, every body type, every age, toddlers, babies, kids, grandmas. And if I live in a way where I'm not hurting anybody around me, that's the way you want to live. Not that I'm perfect because I fail. I get mad at my kids or I get mad at myself or I have bad days. I do get anxious. I do to get depressed. I am a human being that is a sinner for sure. But I try to live in that space of gratitude, being thankful for being set free of all that stuff back then. And now I'm living in the moment in this beautiful relationship and this beautiful world that, I mean, I guess I've created and God's created for me, even though as you look around and look on the news and everything's kind of collapsing, I'm still happy. And that's where I'm at.
Love it. When's her birthday?
Who's mine?
Your wife.
Oh, April 2nd.
April 2nd. Taurus?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't know her sign. I appreciate you letting me say all this stuff. I haven't really told the full story like this, I don't think.
No, and I mean, today's been a very organic day. I'm also a very just organic person, like very much the
Hmm.
opinion you just take things as they come.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm appreciative of chatting with you because again, following the signs and just realizing, if you sometimes following the trail, that's where you find the treasure, the present. No,
Yeah.
Aries.
Okay. As
Yeah,
you look
so
that up
it's
and you
all good.
start analyzing our match,
Oh no, no, I'm
you
not.
know,
I'm definitely not looking at matches. I was just curious about her personality type.
yeah.
But yeah,
What I was going to tell you is I can send you, we did some premarital counseling. I can't remember what it's called, but it was like a test, a personality test, da, da, da. And the guy said, I have never seen levels match up like y'all. So I can send it to you for you to check out at some point.
yeah, for sure,
Um,
share it with me.
but yeah, man, do you want to get into flat Earth?
Well, that's yeah, that's where that's the cherry
Top.
on top, if you will. We'll be
It's
venturing
it's the
down that
second
path.
awakening,
But
dude.
I'm
So I
doing
just,
it. I remember I'm speaking to a fellow creationist, so I'm able to stick in that realm without having to even bring up the aspect of flat, so to speak.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so obviously you understand the firmament,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
It's
totally. Now I do.
my absolute go-to favorite knockdown thing. When did you learn about it?
The firmament.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm probably at like 13 or 14 months now from even being told the heliocentric model isn't real. Like that's what a friend of mine did for me. You've heard me say it on the Discord channel. I sent out just a random image of like the Earth being like right here and the sun being next to it, and
Right.
then a bigger sun being next to it, and a black hole, just showing the grand size of the cosmos. And I sent it to like 14 people, and I said, "The heavens declare the glory of God. Isn't God amazing?" And everybody told me, "Yeah, bro, go God, woohoo!"
Right.
Except one friend that I knew since high school. We went to high school together. He said, I think that that is not scientifically provable, and I don't think it's reality. And I thought he was kidding with me. I was like, what? So he sent me a Matt Long video. I think it was called Dear Pastor. And it just kind of was like a letter, a short YouTube video letter that said, Dear Pastor, consider this, that, and the other. And went through basically like, boom, this is the Bible. This is what the Bible says about it. This is NASA. This is some shill stuff, some fake stuff. And don't laugh away people that are considering flat Earth as quickly as it seems you are. And it caught my attention. I thought, oh, whoa. And then I think I saw some Eric Dubay stuff and was like, whoa, what is this stuff? Because I'd never heard about flat Earth ever at all, not once. And so the first thing I did was told my best friend Nikolai from third grade. We're still best friends today. And he was going to be an astronomer. He had NASA posters all over his wall, like ultimate NASA fanboy.
Fanboy. Yeah.
But he also had, he's on the spectrum, I bet. I mean, he says he says he was. He had ADHD, he had dyslexia, he had learning disabilities, and he had motor tics.
Right.
But he also sees the world and can do things in the world better than, 99% when it comes to high-end welding and like visual space stuff.
Right.
So at first, when I told him what my other friend told me, he laughed so hard. He's like, "Dude, that's stupid." But he's kind of a truther. He always has been. And I kind of had that vein in my body. I had been truthering up a little bit, but not a lot. And anyway, he came back after watching those videos and said, "Dude, this is crazy. This is answering some questions I've had my whole life." And so we started digging into Coriolis effect, and we started digging into curvature and long distance photography and just all of it, digging into it together. Within 3 weeks, he said, "That's it, bro.
Done.
I believe the Earth is an extended plane." It took me 4 months. I couldn't like knee jerk. My knee jerk every day, I'd wake up and be like, no, we have to be on that ball planet. I see it in my mind. That's where we have to be. But I was able to walk away from it with some good sermons that I saw on it and some really good stuff, like from Earthen Vessels, I think.
Within
They're the
vessels.
ones that made Heliosorcery, but
Yep.
before they had other sermons
Chris.
on it. So that's when I learned about the firmament were the biblical cosmology
Yeah.
videos. And then I was
And
like,
that's taking that for a quick second, and that's something
yeah.
that I honestly can say, respectfully to everybody. I preach at that point that there's nothing that takes credence for the firmament other than scripture, right? There's nothing that can explain what is happening when that rocket gets shot up to that sky. Operation Dominic, Fishbowl, all these things where there appears to
Mhm.
be a ceiling, some kind of containment unit, which gives us, right, the rationale for an observable 14.7 psi at water's level. Like, you can't escape from that. These are facts. Barometers are things that
Yeah.
measure. Tools, or sorry, levels are tools that measure what we are attempting to build, right? So
Yeah.
it's these things where you're saying, like, your buddy found these points, things start to make sense when you start to
Mhm.
allow it to become that.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Um, the dinosaurs fell that after the true Earth started really getting traction, dinosaurs were my buddy and I were like, no, what? And we were
Okay,
looking at
you're gonna throw dinosaurs under the bus?
yeah, they were completely fabricated in the late 1800s. Like in all of agriculture, people of all time not discovering dinosaur bones until they were created by. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
but Boston, there is scripture that talks. Sorry, windy. My door
that's all
just
right.
slammed
Don't
shut.
worry.
Um, in scripture does talks about an something walking and its head and tail hitting trees.
Oh, sure, man. There were dragons, there were beasts,
Okay,
there were big, huge, giant people,
right.
etc. But
Okay,
I'm talking about Dinosauria, like the
like a
dinosaur
Tyrannosaurus
story.
Rex with arms so short
Yeah,
he can't even.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so
I got you.
I'm not against huge beings
Okay,
and actually there's still one in the ocean and one in Sheol that's going to come back out. And some people say that earthquakes are the cause of the one under the earth.
right.
So, I mean, there's some crazy stuff for sure that's reality. But when I did my studies on dinosaurs and the fact that entire skeleton's never been found and that they're like chicken bones ground up and a lot of it's plaster and
And they
the
base
real,
something really specific. They base the design of the entire body off of the mandible, off of the
Mhm,
jaw. How do you
mhm.
base your design off of just the front
Yeah,
bumper of a car? What?
yeah.
Right? And
So,
not, I'm,
I
I'm
mean,
glad that we're being very specific about these
but
things.
here's
Appreciate you, man. Go ahead.
here's also the deal. I have started to learn not to make definitive claims on this stuff because if I I don't believe okay, so I do believe that the Big Bang, the billions of years story, evolution with Darwin and dinosaurs are kind of married together in this narrative of see, it's proof, it makes sense, evolution, blah blah blah.
Right?
But when you make the definitive claims, especially when you start getting into staged events or bang bang events or other events, like we don't really know because we weren't there. There is evidence. There's a lot of evidence that a lot of the times it's a psyop or it's this. But if you tell someone that's asleep, this was fake and you don't know it, that could burn you as a human or as a truther. You might lose credibility. And I'm just trying to be careful of saying what is actually factual and true. Like the stuff with the earth, there's no curvature to be found anywhere. Dave Weiss is never going to lose those 3 Bitcoins for motion of the earth found or curvature. He's safe.
Right.
Um, but anyway, yeah, other deceptions did fall though. There's a lot of weird crap out there with the medical industry and the school industry that's just mind manipulation control stuff. And you know what? At first I was freaked out because I do have a wife that's a doctor, and as I was telling her some of this stuff, she was like, her reaction was, "What are you talking about?" Being from the military and being from, medicine, she's kind of trained to go in this, stay in this box. Don't venture out of this box. You know what I mean? Especially with practice and stuff. And then when I'm coming with uh, terrain theory, germ theory, when I'm coming with that stuff,
Right.
then it becomes no, like we can't
Yeah.
talk about that. Like, no, you can't tell me that 25 years of my life was learning a specific way that might not be the whole truth about what this realm is, or, frequency, resonance, and that kind of stuff. So that's where I was saying it's caused a bit of tension, but we haven't fought. But at the same time, she now knows that we're not spinning out of control with this lost in space narrative. Up is up, and the creator, the most high, is directly above us right now, not that far away.
So
And
bringing,
so,
I'm pulling the ball. I'm taking the conch for a quick second to say,
yeah, do it.
right?
Do
Let's
it.
go back to scripture, right? When the Lord created man, and then he took a rib and created Eve, right? And he said,
Hmm.
man shall take a wife, and the wife
Hmm.
will appeal to the husband, right?
Right.
Think of how that now is in place with your relationship, right? That your wife will engage with you, right? And
Hmm.
have these conversations with you with mutual respect. Because again, right, it is that respect that you have both earned and you can see in one another, right? But yet, when the chips fall or when the chips are down, chips are on the table, she's following your lead, dude.
Dude, totally. She is the breadwinner, but she is letting me spiritually lead her and be the head of the house, which
Right.
is wild. I mean, we didn't like talk about that. It just all lined up that way where um I'm not saying, and honestly, with the flat earth stuff, I had to stop talking about it for months because she already had her plate full, busy schedule, stress of her own, and like me talking about conspiracy stuff was like too much at first because I was coming at it too frantic and emotional and like, but they lied to us and this isn't real. And listen, babe, this stuff is, listen. And so it was too intense at first. And so there was a lonely time. I see a lot of people where one spouse gets it and the other one doesn't. And it's a problem. My biggest advice is to just take a breath and realize that they don't have to get it today or else. By the end of the day, they don't have to know everything you know. That there's no rush. You're already married. You've committed to be with each other the rest of your life. If they're not getting it, try not to get frustrated about it. So what I said was, I looked right in her eyes. I said, babe, I'm not trying to be crazy or a freak or whatever, but I think there's truth to some of the stuff that I'm looking into. And we have our little ones, and I don't want to raise them to believe something that's occultic in origin or satanic in origin. And I think some of this stuff is mad twisted on what the creator made.
I
So,
really appreciate the fact that you were like looking directly at the camera making those statements, dude,
yeah, I
because,
wanted
right?
to. I wanted to
I really
connect.
appreciate that, man. Well stated.
Um, and then so I also said, as I was like getting the assuredness that I even needed to say that to her,
Yeah.
I said to myself and I said to her, wait a minute. If God made something different outside right now than what was sold to us when we were kids and sold to everybody, the masses, every day, all the time with NASA and with Discovery Channel and all the cartoons and all the movies, if he made something that's different, I'm not claiming to know what that is.
Yep.
I don't have a model for what's out there, but
No.
it's definitely not the heliocentric ball spinning Earth gravity. It's not it.
Yeah.
And so I told her, just trust me that I'm wanting to bring glory to the artist, to the master creator
Yeah.
of this place. I want to bring glory to him for what was made and not what man made up. And she
Yeah.
got that. She was like, okay, you can do that. Cool, no problem. Let's go. And I bought a P1000, and then I made it a family affair where I was like, hey, come look at the moon, zooming way in. And I was like, look at these stars. And I wasn't planning for it to be like, I'm gonna get her.
Yeah.
But she's like,
Wait a minute. Yeah.
why is it flickering? Why is it colors? And
Yeah.
I'd never seen a star like that. And slowly she's like, and I had a tripod, and so you could see the motion of the luminary going across the screen. And so you know how Witsit recently just Shane also did the azimuthal grid of vision, the
Yep.
bubble dome over us.
Yep.
I was already thinking hard on all that before they brought it up because in East Texas, you can have fluffy clouds over your head real high, but then they merge into the horizon all around you. And I was like, you know what?
Huh.
If I drove 14 miles that way, I'd be where those clouds are touching,
Yep.
and they would just be above me again. And so that was the first thing that clicked in my head. And then I had the P1000 on a tripod, and I had it east, looking at a bright one. And so like say the star came into the picture like right here, it would go this way. And then if I turned it 90 degrees between east and west, the star would go this way flat.
Yeah.
And then if I turned west, it would go this way. And I knew that that was interesting and awesome. And then I started watching planes from the distance. Either they looked like they were shooting into outer space, or
Yep.
they would come straight overhead, or they would go down. And I was like, bro, this is all perspective. I was like, this is just all perspective. And then it clicked, bro. That's how I was able to just have full confidence that the world's amazing and I don't have to be scared. And I mean, I'm on here now because I'm me, and the story I told today is just me. I don't have to have the knowledge and the depth that Witsit and Shane or you even have because I don't know all the answers. And I say I'm not sure a lot,
Yeah.
but I know it's not that crap.
Yeah. But
Anyway.
again, you expressed it, demonstrated it, the Socratic method, right? You took the opportunity to engage with your wife, right? Show her the celestial body, right? And then she began asking questions for herself, right? And it's
Yeah, yeah.
just about planting that one little idea, and it's splintering the mind, right? Because if you
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
insert that one little idea, it will fester, and then before you know it, a flower blooms. It's the idea
Exactly.
that it's not what we've been told, and it's all just in how you greet that idea. And but
Hmm.
the coming back to and looking at your story, how you've evolved as an individual, right? Because again, in this
Hmm.
journey, it's not about the externals, right? It's about you, your growth, and how you've gone to where you are going to be. Thank you for muting. Appreciate that.
Oh
um
yeah.
from a standpoint of, it's not about the guy that used to walk around on his toes,
Hmm.
right? And everybody made fun of that individual. It was about that individual finding who he was so that
Hmm.
he could walk firmly on his feet and be solid and stable in who he is as an individual, which is who you are now, right? And what
Yeah.
I've seen and what I'm have extracted through this time that we've been
Yeah.
chatting for the last hour and 22 minutes,
Yeah.
right, is
Yeah.
that you have just taken your foot off the gas pedal. You're like, forget it, right? Arm out the window, one arm on the wheel, right? You
Hmm.
got your lady beside you now, so you got your left arm on the wheel, depending on what side you drive in the world, right?
Right.
And you got your
Right.
one arm or your one hand holding your lady's hand. You got kids in the back, and you're just cruising in the right lane, chilling
Hmm.
because you know that you hold it within you, and that's what I love about the truth. The truth doesn't
Yeah.
need you. Doesn't need your
Yeah.
feelings, doesn't need any of that stuff because it can stand on its own because it has its own merit.
100%. I say that a bunch. So with Becky and I, throughout the first 9 years of our marriage, and still today, it's the same. We we have kept the creator God of this place first, individually in our lives. Both of us look to who decided to bring us here at the same time and bring us together for this marriage. You know, a lot of people have different ideas of who or what that is. And I mean, I'm fine. I'm totally fine with people that are at different places with what they believe about God. I'm okay with that. As that Christian man or boy that you heard me describing earlier, that was like the churchy Christian guy,
Right.
I was judgmental. I was programmed to be judgmental
Hmm.
towards anyone that didn't believe not only like I believed, but like the program I was in, which was one sect or set or, one church,
Yep.
which what's really sad is there's 44,000 denominations of Christianity. And I think it's because they think they have the truth.
For sure.
And I don't think anybody has the truth 100% unless you're just open and childlike. Like that's my go-to is to be like a kid, be grateful, don't act like you know it all, don't be passive aggressive or a jerk. And like I was saying just then, she and Becky and I keep God first, and then our marriage, and we're grateful for that, and then our kids, and we're grateful for them. But even with our kids and our marriage, it's all open-handed. Like you have to have your kids and your life and your money and your health, all of it you have to have with an open hand. Because if you're like, no, this is my precious, my health is my precious, or my
Jeez.
running, or my wife, I gotta have my wife. If I lost her, I couldn't survive. No, we've already talked with each other about if one of us passes before the other, would we remarry? And what would it be like to try to find a different spouse to fill the shoes of what we've experienced? I mean, because in the actual factual world, people die at any moment, and you don't know when your time is going to be up. So we don't hang on to our kids like they're gods, little gods. We
Right.
hang on to them like they're precious blessings. And then it rolls down to friends and even enemies. And I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and say like I figured it out and I'm this perfect dude, but I've got a lot more peace, and I've got a lot more joy and contentment and total like elation about life, more than back when I was trying to do it my way. Does that make sense?
100%, dude. It's
You said 100%.
yeah, no, I say 100% all the damn time too. And
I
again,
do
I
too.
mean, you and
Maybe
I,
maybe I picked it up on the Discord. But
there's,
hey,
yeah, maybe I made you start saying it.
maybe
Um,
you did.
from a standpoint of, again, right, water element based signs.
Yeah, what else did you find on
We,
that?
well,
On,
it's just understanding how a water element engages with life, right? Emotions tend to be the lesson that we learn by or learn from, right? Learning that jumping into the pool and going right to the bottom of it with our obsessive compulsive behavioral issues that we have, right, can
Mhm.
lead to destruction of self, right? And
Yeah.
it's only when we become aware of our innate ability to always want to jump to the bottom of the pool, because that's where like we always go to the bottom. We want to find out what the end is and then work backwards, come up for a
Yeah.
breath, so on and so forth. And very that's like our control thing. So
Right.
it makes a lot of sense, dude, that emotions, you needed to learn to control your emotions in order to get better.
Hmm.
I'm same breath, put my hand right up with you. Like, yeah, emotions
Yeah.
have definitely been, knee jerk reactions to situations versus taking your foot off the gas pedal, as I said earlier,
Yeah.
and taking the opportunity to take on the lessons that come your way.
Well, I've got to throw you a curveball.
Please do.
Maybe you're going to be totally fine with it, because this is, I would almost say, the third awakening amongst the many we've already talked about. Um, Being born and raised in the Bible Belt and seeing all the churches on every corner and being a part of a lot of them and feeling like something just wasn't right in the church building. Um, I found in the journey, I found, Skiba, I found Sean at Hanging on His Words, and I just started to listen to what he was saying. And actually the guy that told me about the earth also said, there's more stuff, we can get into later, but for now, let's just stick to, these little, conspiracies, as the world would say.
Right.
But he started unfolding to me the Torah. And I was like, what is the Torah? Isn't it like the first five books of the Bible? Isn't it like Judaism? Isn't it like a religion? He goes, well, technically, the first five books of the Bible are Torah, but I'm finding out that the Torah is the word. Like just how Christ became, he came from word to flesh and
Yep.
walked amongst us. He's the Torah, and the Torah is him. And the church doesn't want to hear this because they have the whole idea that the law's been done away with. And actually, the church Becky and I were going to was, I didn't know this, but they were dispensational, where they believed that we're living in a period of grace where you don't have to follow any of the commandments, not even the 10. You don't have to even look at the Ten Commandments, because
Wow.
if you've given your life to Christ and you're following the Lord, you won't kill somebody. But
Yeah.
if you do, just say you're sorry or whatever. It's just crazy.
Right.
But through Kingdom in Context, and actually the whole Kingdom crew, which includes Founded Earth Brothers, Hanging on His Word with Ken Heidebrecht, and there's one more, a West Blaze Music, spelt with a K. These dudes are looking at, well, what does the Bible say ungraveled? Like when you take the word Elohim, 6,000 times in the Bible was translated just to God, and people assume that it's Big Daddy or the main God, but it could be a ruler, it could be a demon, it could be Jesus is a God, but he's not God the Father. Which that really confuses people and gets them upset. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I absolutely know everything about God and the Torah and what we're supposed to be doing. But what I'm telling you now, what I'm sharing with you, is me and my family are being drawn kind of not away from mainstream Christianity. It's not about that. This truther movement towards what is the earth and what is contagion or what is sickness and what is going on out there with all the stuff, I have found that the Torah is also the eternal behaviors of God, the eternal instructions from the Father, and they're not a burden, even though we're told by the church that they're just too hard to follow. Here's the thing: we live in a city and it has rules and regulations, laws. And we live in a state and a country that has laws. And there's thousands and thousands of laws that most all of us are doing all the time without even thinking about it. What's so hard about looking at the luminaries and figuring out when the feast days are to get together and have a meal, have some wine, have a conversation, not this in depth, but being called back to the feasts and festivals and that kind of Torah way than Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving, which are
Hmm.
pagan in origin. And a lot
Hmm.
of people will be like, don't take my Christmas from me. But anyway, I think that there's something to be said about letting go of all the religions, because what I'm talking about right now, predates any religious establishment. And it was just what Jesus did, what the disciples did to please the Father. And so that's really the last chapter to catch you up completely of where I'm at, is learning what does he want me to do,
Right. So
you
now
know?
I'm getting the root of even why we got to this engagement point today to chat. Um,
Where are you at on all that?
2000, back in 2015. Yeah,
Yeah.
2015. It was like April, just after Easter. Um, I had done a meditation, and then I wrote um, kind of a 3 paragraph, I wouldn't say like an essay, but just a 3 paragraph little writing. I'll share it with you one day, on
Yeah,
religion.
please do.
What
Yeah.
is religion? And sorry, I came back to the idea that religion is just another club, another further division of whatever. You're black, or I'm black, you're white, you're black, I'm white, purple,
Hmm.
brown, another division. CIA, FBI, another division.
Right.
NASA, another division, right? Whatever, however we can take you, from taking you away from being a sovereign, right? Sovereign spirit, sovereign
Hmm.
soul, right? You come
Hmm.
to Earth, this place, right? You wear the meat suit, you experience it, right? It develops you as who you are, and then
Yeah.
you leave this place and venture on to, experience different things. Um, the aspect of religion is just another place to beat you down with another set of standards, rules, whatever have you. That's just my view, right? And I'm very much of the opinion, and so very humbled to meet you on this point, right? Again, Socratic method, understanding of where you're at, meeting you on your journey, to say that I fully agree with you. I fully align with you, because we take Genesis as a chapter, right, which exists in the Bible, right, the religious text, right,
Yeah.
the chapter of, or we take Genesis again, that exists in the Torah, right, and those things are common to what he's created, right, and this is why I say it's so important, and I've I've met so many people right here on this common understanding of what was created. I don't,
Hmm.
and I like I say this part of my, I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second here, say this
Yeah.
part very
Please do.
respectfully, right? Is I don't care about all the other books, right? Matthew, Luke, John, all these men who witnessed the things that he did and wrote these books to instill feeling, right? So that you could feel his love, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes that doesn't work for people. So let's
Yeah.
take it back to the physical aspect of it. And this is why I say, respectfully, I'm a physicist of scripture, right? To be able to take what's the firmament? Okay, it's this, and this is why it exists because of gas pressure. We observe it, things of that nature. So when we're able to align it and bring it down to that very basic foundation of what are we standing on and what are we actually talking on?
Hmm.
Discord, right? We're talking on Discord. However, we're inside of a creation that was created. The hat you are wearing right now, or sorry, the visor you're wearing right now was
Yeah.
created. So again, I asked my son the other day, where does evolution kick in if everything we're witnessing is creation, right? And
Hmm.
that's the most beautiful part. I don't care. Forget about everything else. I just love the creation and how it exists so beautifully. Thanks for listening to my soapbox speech.
No, that's super good. Have you heard Austin where he breaks down that everything is light? Like this table is condensed light,
Yeah.
that there isn't the atom, there isn't the, you know, electron, proton, like a lot of these ideas of like the atom with the little balls and the spinning and this and that. It's like you don't know what's down that small. You like to say you do. Like they don't know what's way out there, how far it is, what it actually is made of. And they also don't know the inside, but men are prideful and they don't want to say I don't know. They want to say I got it all figured out and here's the easy answer and it all got here with no God. So
Yeah.
that's cool. So are you
Pride,
okay with
ego,
the book?
right?
Yeah. Are you okay with Enoch and the book of Jasher? Because I think there's good stuff in there. Because I mean, it was in the 1611 Ethiopian Bible, and they removed it at the Council of Nicaea. It's like, why are you tweaking my stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, the books of Enoch is a major contributor for me, just in terms of the design and what's mentioned with the celestial bodies and how they
Yeah.
work. Like literally, how the clock, right? Like,
Hmm.
why wouldn't the creator want to keep track of how many times the race cars go around the track? For sure, he
Oh
would
yeah.
want to. Like, it totally makes sense, right? And so we talk about tracking the feast days. It all goes accordingly, right? The sun appears first. I learned out of the books of Enoch. Sun appears first. It leads the way from east to west, right? These are
Hmm.
all rules. That doesn't take away from no, sorry. These are all rules that are in place that the celestial bodies have to follow. So it's the
Right.
books of Enoch have added to
Hmm.
Genesis, right? If Genesis was the foundation for me,
Yeah.
Book of Enoch had just gone on top. Book
Well,
of Jasher, from what I recollect, because I remember I took it in. No, please, but you tell me about the Book of Jasher, what you took from it.
I haven't dived into it yet.
Okay.
Literally all this stuff is so new to me. Do you watch Kingdom in Context and like it?
No,
Have
please,
you seen it?
please, no, tell me about it.
Oh my gosh. You need, and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Sean Griffin went to seminary. Okay, let me pause. This is a
Take
complete
a breath. Yeah.
pause so that I can say this for people that maybe haven't heard this or like, whoa, where are these guys going? Okay, if you believe that God's Son came to pave a way and make a way for us to be right with the Father, that's it, man. If you ask Jesus, or I say Yeshua now, if you ask Yeshua to help you and guide you and show you the way that you're supposed to do your life and allow him by the power of the Holy Spirit to guide you, like it's simple. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And that's it. This stuff we're talking about with the Torah and these feasts and festivals and all this other stuff, this is for those that desire to do the will of the Father, to do his ways and behaviors. Now, I cannot tell you the consequences for not doing them versus doing them, but this stuff is not a salvational issue. This is an act of obedience,
Hmm.
where this is what I feel about it. the money maker is that you follow Christ and trust him. That's, I think, the main point. And all this stuff, if you so desire to learn what it, because if you're in a relationship with somebody, if you're intimately involved with someone like Christ, you're going to want to know more about him, and you're going to want to know about more about, his ways and stuff. And I find it now that I have a beautiful opportunity to live like the Messiah. I get to live like him. I get to follow in his footsteps. It's not a burden. So, but if it's confusing to you, don't feel guilty. If you don't want to do it, it's like you just take your time, man. Take a breath, relax. You don't have to figure out everything that you believe about God or salvation or the way that you're going to walk. If you don't like any of this talk of God or a creator or that this place was created, that's okay too, because you're not finished on this journey and you haven't stopped learning. So anyway, um, back to Kingdom in Context. Highly recommend it. If I only could have two YouTube channels, period, it would be Witsit Gets It and Kingdom in Context. Those would be my go-tos because he went to seminary. He figured something was kind of like weird. Like he just didn't get the vibe that it was right. So he started to define the words. He looked at the Septuagint, he looked at the Greek and the Hebrew, and he looked at the definitions of the words. What does it mean? Why does, whoa, and he looked at the Strongs, and he started to see that there's been like that. It's like confusing when you change Elohim to God. And anyway, his whole passion is to teach the Bible in context. I think you're totally going to love him. But you'll watch Investigating Babylon is a long series, and he just started one called Series 42. And those two are unbelievable.
All right, man. Well, send me the
Yeah.
link. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, well. Well, what else you got for me? Anything you want to share or talk about or ask?
Dude, where I'm gonna start closing out the show, or the interview, if you will,
No, it's great.
is talk about the upcoming event. So the 11th marathon again. So you bring
Yeah.
back everything full circle. You were at the bombing in the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
If you could talk about that for a quick for a few, that'd
Yeah,
be great.
so Boston is the oldest marathon in America, or yeah, it's the oldest marathon in America, and it's like one of the world majors. So there's 6 world majors. It's the pinnacle of a runner's desire to make it to Boston and to run it. So I went super excited. I ran a 3 hour and 5 second, so
Right.
3:00:05. I
Yeah.
couldn't get under
No,
three. I was
three
so
flat. Listen, that's a three flat in my book.
yeah, three
I'm not
flat.
gonna make you a liar for 5 seconds. Go ahead.
Right. Well, all 10 that I've done, my average is under 3 hours for all the ones I've run. So that's cool.
Wow.
My fastest is a 2:51:13 in 19. I told you that. I want to
Yeah.
break 250
Right.
in 3 days. I want to break 250.
Yeah.
That's my
Exactly.
desire.
So you're
But
gonna
to run
so your best time so far is a 2:59. You said
2:51:13,
2:51:13. So you're gonna shave a minute. That's your goal.
minute and a half,
Minute
two
and a half.
minutes. Yeah.
Two. Yeah. Okay. So under 250. Sub 250.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And so that day, the day was awesome. I ran great. I came across the finish line. My dad filmed me. I can send you this video too. He panned me finishing, but he was in ground zero. Like he was standing right where the bombs went off or the pressure cookers or whatever they had.
Yeah.
And so the tree and the people, like the
The
FBI, they
tree. There
wanted,
was a tree.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how we figured out where he was. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah, we looked at the whatever. So I told my dad, don't worry about like coming and finding me because it's going to be a while for me to make this whole city block. So when he did walk away, the bombs went off 45 minutes later, right where he was standing. And that freaked him out. And um, yeah, the next year was quite different. Like security checks everywhere, had to have transparent backpacks and patting you down and scanning and waving everything, lines all over, roadblocks all over. Like the whole thing was basically on lockdown compared to the year before. It was just an amazing run event where you got to walk around freely. So there was quite a bit of control so that something like that didn't happen again.
Right.
And every year has been, tight security. And but one thing that was weird was right when they went off, like I was like trying to look on Twitter or trying to figure out what was going on. I had full bars on my phone, full signal, but no texts were coming in or going out. Couldn't make a phone call coming or going because they say that at all mass events they can like turn off the ability for the cell phone to send signal in case somebody has like remote phone bombs or something. So that was terrible. And um, like I said earlier, I'm not going to make any definitive claims about what did or didn't happen, but being quite a bit more awake now than I was then, I'm just kind of like, man, you just got to trust God and not man. You got to
Right.
just keep the connection we've had today, the talk, everything it's been about growing forward, falling forward, if you will, into
Yeah.
more health than darkness. Go towards the light. Don't go towards the darkness. But yeah, I'm super pumped. I'm very relaxed, being that it is my 11th time. Last year, I mean, in the years past, I may have been nervous or anxious. I don't have any of that. I'm already packed. All I got to do is just get up there, go through the motions, rest, grab my packet, get to the line, and go
Experience it.
relax. Yeah,
And think,
experience it.
think about your mental set approaching in prior years
Yeah.
and how you're approaching it this time around. Is it so much a preparation for a quote race versus an experience that you're about to go through? And again, like engaging with you, you're one of the, you're just cool, calm, and collected, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, whatever happens.
Yeah, it'll be good. And my wife will run it her first time, so she's probably going to be pretty nervous, but to have us both out there is going to be beautiful.
All right, so okay, I gotta ask: do you guys go like stride for stride, or are you like, look, I gotta own this?
Some people would drop back and run the first one with their wife and just be like, let's do it together, baby. She would not have
Wow.
me do that because she's like, honey, this is your race to do your thing. I know you want to push it. It's your only marathon you do a year. And she's like, you have fun. She gave me that blessing a while ago. Actually, our middle son, we didn't know if he was going to be a boy or girl. We nicknamed him Boston because his due date was on the marathon.
That's awesome.
So one more little funny story. We're in the hospital. She delivers our middle son on Saturday, and I had not no, Friday. I'm sorry, Friday the 13th, because she
Yeah,
just
right. You're
had
saying that's right.
Friday the 13th. Saturday, I think it was at midnight, or it was Saturday. She said, "Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. My mom's in town. I know you already have bought your Boston ticket, but you haven't bought any airfare. If there's a flight, why don't you go? Keep your string going. I'll be fine. You go race and come back." And so I did. I jumped on a flight. I flew to Boston, grabbed my bib, raced, went to the hotel, quick shower, straight back to the airport, and flew home. I was gone for 36 hours,
That's awesome.
and she helped me to keep my string going. So that's kind of funny that
Would
we.
you do you remember what you ran that year?
Oh, I've got them. Yeah, I'll tell you.
That's awesome.
Let's see results. Here we go. What year? Yeah, let's see. What year would that have been?
But that's up to you, man. It's when your child was born.
Yeah,
Middle
so
child, you gotta
18.
figure that out.
Wasn't 19.
How old is he?
30304.
30304. I love it.
Yeah.
This man's like, I'm so impressed that you're, over a span of 3 hours, right? Over 11 years, you're able to range your time by 13 minutes, basically, right? Or 11 minutes,
Yeah.
are we 249 to 30, no,
Yeah.
303.
So, um,
That's an amazing range.
3 hours and 5 seconds, 302.46, 258.48, 304.39, 303.17, 256.59, wait, that was the wrong one. 251.13 is the best,
Yep.
303.26, and then 21 was 259.15, and then last year or 2022 was 251.32. So it's pretty close to my all-time best. And then this year's the one to just go all the way
I
under.
I think this is gonna be your best run
Thanks.
yet.
Yeah,
I
you guys
have
all have been encouraging. And let me just say, Shane getting this channel going and kind of having the rules. I know the rules, but like the let's be chill. Let's not cuss each other out. Let's talk about different ideas with peace. Boom. And he set it up. And I'm telling you, there's people in here that are just amazing. I mean, three of us are from East Texas. We're all going to get together and have like a True Earth camp out pretty soon.
Sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be
that's
cool.
in this
Hell
point I'll
yeah, dude.
obviously take an
Yeah,
opportunity
there's Shane. He
Yeah.
popped in.
appreciate
Glad.
that,
Thanks for
Shane.
listening, man. I know it was long, but I appreciate you listening to my life story.
Dude, I've been listening the whole time trying to chime in, but it's not my thing. This is like the coolest interview I've ever seen, honestly, dude. I've been riveted and sitting here the whole time listening to this storyteller. Sorry.
Bro,
That's
I
and
mean,
that's just it. Like the big thing with an individual like JT is he's so well versed in so many things, right? Like you're talking to a man who literally in the same conversation mentioned porn, right? To holding his first kiss until he was on, the altar with his wife,
yeah,
a bride to be at that point, right?
yeah.
And there's absolutely no way that he could not do absolute justice to 2 hours spent chatting, brother. And I mean, like, I know you got videos, and we could probably we could start a YouTube channel on JT videos at this point.
Dude, I could share some stuff. But hey, like I always like to do before I go, I mean, I lay it down. This is not, I always feel like, ooh, are people going to think he's like trying to be all that? But I go to prayer,
No, hold on. No. We're not going to prayer. I know you want to close out with a prayer. We're not going there yet
closing
because I
prayer.
want to. Yeah, no, because the thing is, I want to talk for a quick second again about the
Good,
community.
good.
Shane chimed in for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, as I'll always do is speak to what Shane's brought to the movement, what everybody here in this community have brought, and it goes to just say that everybody listening to this right at this point in time, the respect that we have for one another is what sets us apart from the baboons, the rocket launchers of this earth, of this place.
Mhm.
And Shane, massive shout out to you for setting up a common ground where we can, again, as Boston said, exchange ideas in a neutral platform and an open place without feeling like people are watching us, judging us, things like that. Big shout outs to you, man.
Hell yeah, bro.
Boston, please go ahead, brother. Close it out.
Close this out. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for this awesome chat, hanging out with Kiwi and having some people listen, and hopefully some other people watch on YouTube later. The journey has been intense. It's been real. I don't know how many more days I've got. One day or 50 years, who knows? But to live in the moment and to be grateful and to be thankful for every life and the little stuff, breathing, good food, friendship, fellowship, not being scared of the drama and the deceit. Of course, there's tons of deceptions, there's tons of lies, and there is evil out there. But cutting it off from infecting you or affecting you constantly is good and healthy. So I ask that you show us all how to seek truth, but also step away from the drama and not be affected by it, and to lean hard into love and light and goodness and self-control and the fruits of the Spirit. Help us not to judge ourselves harshly when we make a mistake, when we fall short of the glory, which is constantly. Help us to give ourselves grace and remember to eat a meal or take a nap or not overreact about any shortcoming that we may have. Also, help us not to be scared when we don't know things, when we realize that there's been things that we thought were this way, but it's really this way. And we just ask for guidance right now, just humbly, as we move forward with trying to create content or create relationships, friendships. I don't know who all's married and who's not, but if you have people that are worried about finding a spouse, help them not to be worried. As they heard my story, you can do massive things with a pile of mess. In me, you've done that, and I thank you for that. And we just ask for more guidance and more protection, and we love you, and we pray all this in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Well stated, man. Thank you so much for the prayer and closing that out. And I, for one, ask good Lord above to put His hands upon you and your wife on your journey that run through Boston. Keep it merry, and you bring us back a sub 247 time. Okay? Yeah, I said
Oh,
247.
that would be great. 247. Hey, I wore the shirt for you.
I am sure that the good Lord can orchestrate a little tailwind to give you a little push for
There
a
you go.
2-second, 3-second shave off that time, my guy.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna close out the YouTube stream, and if you wouldn't mind hanging around the Discord chat for a little bit to chat with us, it'd be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoever's listening on YouTube, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate you as always. It's been a slice. Feel free to leave some comments, and yeah, we'll catch you guys very soon. Be well.